Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of XRP, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and what we think is likely to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be able to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and it's the first place we go to notify you of everything that's going on in the crypto space. So why not check it out, linked in the description below. Let's make a start with this though, right? XRP paired up with USDT and Binance is our data source. Let's jump right down into it. We're going to be taking a look at three different things here for XRP. We're going to take a look mainly at the daily time frame, but here this one is a weekly. We're going to use this one to kind of pinpoint out our key areas of support and resistance. Whereas we're going to take a look at smart money concepts to see whether or not we're in a bullish or bearish structure and what's going on from a smart money concept point of view. And then we're also going to be taking a look at Elliott wave theory on the daily time frame. In fact, let's start with the Elliott wave theory stuff. So as we can kind of see, we don't have a good structure to the upside. We're not in the, well, we have the idea of a kind of, impulsive structure, but in reality, that's not really what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of corrective structures all kind of being nested together from an Elliott wave theory point of view. So what we're going to do is we can see that we need to have a break to the upside from our trend line. This is a positive, right? We can see that we had this trend line for XRP taking us down lower. Now, unfortunately, the break to the upside is pretty much driven from the FOMO all around the SEC versus Ripple. Ultimately, when that case concludes, we're going to see some significant surge to the upside. So this break here happens in March, mainly because there was lots of wild speculation that something was going to happen in March. Now, this is usually the case. Every single month, there's a date that seems to come and go with no real kind of meaning behind it. Ultimately, there's a date that is supposed to flick a switch and everything goes to the moon. And, we have to stop paying attention to those things and actually dive down into the deeper logical aspects of how things actually work. There isn't a magical date. There is no insider spilling the beans on when things are going to happen, because if you think about it logically, that individual is risking an awful lot for very, very little. So why would that person be an insider spilling the beans on anything that's going on inside the case? This one is going to be so tight. Anyone who is not only kind of leaking information about the court case with the Ripple and SEC is not only jeopardizing their job, but also potential lawsuits on the back of it. I do not think anyone is going to be risking that for a little bit of 5 minutes worth of fame on Twitter. So I don't think that's really what's going on. I don't think there's any insiders. I don't think any of those dates really are that meaningful, specifically if they're not based on fact. So we kind of do see a bit of a surge to the upside, and it's all really just based on lies, in my opinion. We have seen time and time again dates come and go when it comes to XRP, but we can see that we had this break to the upside. The structure of this break is all corrective, and we have found ourselves in upper areas of resistance, but we have done something really interesting, and that is that we have come up higher here than our previous highs that were over in September of 2022. That's a positive, right? That's a good sign. But we have consolidated back down again in this low range here. So what we want to do is we need to figure out is there a bullish move to be had here, or is that now it? And we're going to be looking to move down. So what we need to do is we need to use the Fibonacci retracement tool in association with Elliott wave theory to understand the structures that we're in. Okay, there's a relationship between the fib levels and the wave counts that help us ascertain the direction of the move. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure that, and we're going to just push it over here. And yeah, we've come up to the 1.382. This basically does open us up to a few possibilities. We've got to find some zigzags though. Okay, so in order for us to kind of be thinking about that bullish movement upwards, okay, we're not at that impulsive level or anything like that. This is the idea that we have to hit that 64.62 area. And it's possible. I mean, if I try to make it fit, is there an area? Not really. I was trying to see whether or not we had a scenario in here where we can kind of go 1, 2, kind of, maybe 3, 4, and 5, right? But it doesn't fit. Not from an internal wave count perspective. You don't even have to go down to the lower time frames. I can see it doesn't really make sense. Maybe a leading here, push upwards down into 4, and then that would have been the fifth wave movement. That would have been the extension there, which just shorts, just lands on that 1.382, short of the 1.618, preventing us from doing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we don't have a correct internal wave count. What's more interesting, though, is the idea that this is a potential zigzag pattern moving us up higher, right? So we can see here, you know, a zigzag or ABC structure, and this is our potential corrective structure now coming down. Now, we are heavily oversold on this daily time frame, so there is a lack of selling potential, and at least there was up until today. There seems to be a little bit of resistance coming in here. And you can see that this area that we had scoped out for where we should have ended, right, i.e. between 1 and 1.236, 50.12 and 54.64. This is also now acting as our resistance. We haven't closed above it. You'll notice this on the daily chart. We haven't closed above this level of 54.64, and that's the 1.236 level. So we know that the resistances are real right up in this higher range. So we can see it from previous up here in 2022, and we can now see it up here as well. Breaking above this area could be pretty good, but it would basically allow me to look at this structure not as an ABC, not like this, but maybe more I would be looking at this as a potential W, X, Y, X, and Z structure, and that there could be really interesting. We would be looking for zigzags, and we could probably argue that we had that even in here, because this overextension within that fifth wave movement, right, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a big 5. It's possible that there's a little kind of wave 4 and 5 inside there that we just can't see, and it's actually more of an ABC structure internally like this. That could be pretty powerful because it would mean that we would be able to articulate another potential move in here like this, and also down at the low end here, we'd have to argue that maybe there's a 5 wave in there and there as well. Now, if that is the case, WXYXZ, incredibly corrective, would be taking us up a little bit higher. We'll know more about this in due course, though. I think it's a little bit too soon to be calling it myself. I think we should actually be focusing in on the basics for now, okay, which would be basically corrective structure finishing and looking for a correction to the downside. That could have already finished based on our daily chart here. Do have to pay in mind of the other time frames could be a little bit more bearish, and Bitcoin's looking pretty bearish as well. So if Bitcoin turns on us, we might see XRP turning down as well, and you know the momentum indicator is just going to remain oversold. But you know, that being said, that lawsuit is key, so there could be some interesting kind of FOMO that gets generated from that. From a smart money concepts point of view, we are still bullish. We have got the structure to support this. So we have a change of character from bearish to bullish. This happened over here in September of 2022. Okay, we haven't broken down lower, right? I got lucky by getting the 30-cent XRP buy order hit down here in 2023 in January. Pure luck, because it was just something that I thought was going to happen. And you put a cheeky bid on it, you know, you just basically put your spot order in, and if it happens, it happens, that kind of thing. And, you know, we hit that, and it was fantastic. We rode that up, and fantastic profits, right, from this low. And, you know, it's, what's that, from the high there, 95%. Not bad to kind of double your position, in my opinion. Just take it where we are right now, 71%. So, you know, some people got real lucky, myself included there. But I still see this as a corrective structure, meaning that it's still possible to revisit these lows at some point in the future. But this bullish structure on our smart money concepts chart is looking pretty good. We do have, as I said, that change of character from bearish to bullish. We have a break of structure confirming it, and then we have another break of structure confirming that. So essentially here it's looking pretty good, but there is a fair value gap that was left behind. And this gap is something that we should consider as something that we are likely to come back to at some point. This being 39 to 40 cents. There's also equilibrium just above this area as well, which also happens to coincide quite nicely at the moment with our 200 daily EMA. So this is something that was acting as resistance, and we could come back and test it as support. Be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. We have a weak high at the moment, so that's positive, and we have a strong low, not likely to come down there until we see some of these buy order areas getting hit and taken out first, which we can see, of course. There isn't really terribly too much in the way of internal selling blocks, but there's a lot of internal buying blocks, which is interesting. The other thing that's noteworthy here is that we do see ourselves with a major area of resistance, and it's really coming in on this higher area around that kind of 50.98 approximately, coming right in here, and we're trying to turn that into a support line at the moment, which brings me over into our weekly time frame. Where are those support and where are those resistance lines, right? So as we come into this, we can see, I'm going to pull out a couple here that I think are worth noting. And yeah, I'm going to say right here is a real interesting one, 60-cent flat, which is why that's really interesting. And what I was looking at there, guys, I'm going to just use an arrow for this. We can see this candlestick wick right here pushes up and then comes down. Before we broke it, but then we came back down and we found that we didn't close below this area. We basically were fighting it, and then we pushed back up. Not only was this wick also very similar to this one, we came back and retested this line over here in November 2021. And we bounced from it. We again didn't close below it. We pushed up and then we fell below. What's happening now is a retest of that area that was previously finding as good support. So this is pretty typical of what you tend to find when you see these charts. You tend to find that there's a price that people are transacting on, right? And over here, you can see that this is an area that was resistance. We bought our way through all of that sell pressure, and basically price pushed up into the high for the 2021 bull market. Then we came down and we found that there was a lot of buying pressure at this level, and therefore price reversed on us. Coming back down, more buying pressure was found at this area until all those buys were chewed through as those sellers really mounted and pushed the price down. So now we see this as people who were potentially buying at 60 cent, as price revisits this range, those people are now at cost neutral and they have to make a decision. Are they going to be selling or are they going to be buying, right? And so you find that there's these areas of resistance and support, right? Previous support areas that are lost become a resistance line. So it's no surprise that we push up and we find that right there. But we can also go a little bit deeper here, and we can see that actually if I use a yellow box for this one, just in here, what I'll do is I will draw this on like this and then just drag it across. And you can find here is that this is something that would fall into more the smart money concepts angle of things, supply and demand, okay, essentially. Now, if I come in here, this area here is an area of demand. Not that I can spell demand, apparently. Demand, right? So when we have an area of demand like this, you can see that we come in and we move out, right? And there's no real closed positions inside here. It's essentially just wicks, right? These wicks on the weekly time frame. Okay, so we know there's a big area of demand here. Now what we do is we can see that this previous area of demand is starting to turn into a supply zone. Okay, and this is the opposite way around, where we come up into it and we find ourselves getting rejected from it, and we can find ourselves getting rejected from it. So from an XRP point of view, this particular range, which is between 50.74 and 58.87, is also acting as a major area of resistance. And I would actually be more inclined to say, let's move that up to the 60 cent range, because 60 cent happens to be the area where we can see that we've kind of consolidated on or had a reaction to quite a bit previously, right? And we can note that within there. So it does look like we're coming up against those upper resistances, at least on this weekly time frame. And we can see that also noted on the stochastic RSI as we are up in the overbought ranges. So for XRP here, it looks like we are in a pretty interesting position, visiting these kind of areas of resistance. Now, if we were to look at this from an Elliott wave theory point of view, as I said, on our weekly time frame, this looks pretty much like it's done, and it hasn't really got terribly too much more in the tank. We can check this using the fib tools as well, based on the rules of Elliott wave theory. And I'm going to just go ahead and snap this. Oh, he says, if I can find where I've moved it to, there it is. I'm going to make sure I get this right on the nose down here. So it was down at 30 cents. It's pretty much as close as I'm going to be able to make it. There we go. Okay, cool. 30 cents. And you can see right here, the 1-to-1 ratio was coming up at 58.40, right? We can see that right there. Now, if I hover above this candlestick over here in the left-hand corner, you'll see the prices. We wicked up as high as 58.50. Okay, so we were basically 0.1 higher than the 1-to-1 ratio. It's almost exactly on cue for rejection. So yes, we could have pushed up higher, but we actually found ourselves abiding by the rules of Elliott wave theory and finding that typical rejection point right there at 54.5. Sorry, 56.5. Let me just check it. Yeah, sorry, 58.5. Remember the numbers off the top of my head, but yeah, 58.5. We basically wicked up to it and got rejected. That happens to complete a complete corrective structure. Yes, we can probably look at the smaller time frames. This is obviously the weekly, and we could probably argue that there's a potential move up a little bit higher. But from the weekly time frame being overbought and taking a look at it from a kind of a macro level, it doesn't look like it has to. It can go up to 68.34, under this C wave structure. There's nothing to stop that from happening. From a technical standpoint, it would still be a C structure, but there's no need to, right? It's already met those requirements. But it happens to be that that falls very much aligned to the demand and supply area, or the support and resistance that we see on this weekly time frame as well. So for XRP, it looks like things might actually start to get a little bit choppy. It might be that we just go sideways and all of our stochastic RSIs go from that oversold position to the overbought position, and the next thing you know, we are moving down quite aggressively. The concern that I have, is this is for all crypto, not just XRP, is that there is a bigger structure at play, and this is all some kind of B wave movement before we have that big rug pull situation and taking us down into some crazy, crazy lows. I don't want this to happen. I want us to be in a bullish market. We just do not have the structures to support such a thing. And a big move to the downside like this would be very, very bearish, and unfortunately would see many retail investors get absolutely wrecked. So we don't want that to happen. I've been quite happy just to see a 50% reduction, and just kind of retest some of these previous areas of resistance around 40 cent. But my concerns are that we have deeper to go for XRP. So I'm going to leave this video right there. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you align to mine? This is just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving you my thoughts on how I interpret the data for XRP. But what is your thoughts? Are you super bullish $1 XRP, or are you thinking actually, yeah, it makes sense that we probably get rejected here, at least for a little while, until we can kind of find some momentum to push on through it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found it useful and informative, smash the like button. I appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to join us down in Discord. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.
We are not financial advisors. None of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.